Hey everybody, what's going on? It's Broken Nose Gaming here. Right off the bat, this video is going to be a little different than normal. I have been feeling a little under the weather, and my previous work week had me at work a little bit more than I normally would be, so I didn't have a lot of time to make a video. And the whole not feeling well, the short of the long is I kind of get like vertigo symptoms every once in a while when I get really tired lately, and it's like when I turn my head really fast or look down really fast, I'll get dizzy, be it if I'm sitting or standing or laying down. So on my time off, I have just been kind of relaxing with my dogs, laying down, taking it easy. Not really been using my big computer rig. As a matter of fact, I am on my laptop and using some backup equipment to record this video. I am hoping that these symptoms will kind of go away. It might be just that I'm extra tired. I don't really know. This is maybe only the second or third time that I've ever had this happen. Anyways, that's the reason why you do not see a little picture of me on the screen. It's the reason why the screen format's a little bit different. We're using the laptop that I used in the comparison video not too long ago. Anyways, in the previous video, I talked about the Tier 8 Halloween Tank Destroyer, the Soul Eater, and I mentioned that there is a second Halloween tank this season, and we're going to take a look at it today. That would be the Tier 7 Heavy, the Lightbringer. Now, just by switching over to the Lightbringer, you can see that the Lightbringer, even though it's a heavy, is much smaller than the Soul Eater. The Lightbringer actually kind of reminds me of like, I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of like the Chinese BZ line, where just like the turret's kind of blocky but angular, and it's a smaller than normal heavy. I think it's just a personal thing. I don't think it's actually kind of designed off them. Judging by like the kind of aesthetics of this tank, this is clearly supposed to be like some sort of like hero tank where the Soul Eater is like the villain tank. So this is supposed to be like the good guy, I guess. Yeah, outside of it being rather small for a heavy, if we look at the stats really quick, you'll notice there's nothing really that stands out about this tank. I mean, it has no special abilities like the Soul Eater does with like the double shot. Its armor is okay. I have managed to bounce quite a few shots off the turret and the hull if you can kind of angle it right. But there are some real flat spots, especially on the turret, on like the underside of the face of the turret, where people are apparently really having no problem penning it. So, but yeah, like nothing out of the ordinary. If we look at like the main gun, the 92mm gun, it does about 270 damage, which is a little bit more than the 90mm that the US carries. There's nothing super special about this tank. If you were to have picked this tank up and played it, I wouldn't fault you for thinking like, oh, there's nothing really interesting about this tank. And that's because the thing that makes this tank unique is actually not something that you can see in its stats in game. You would actually have to use something like Blitz Kit or Blitz Stars to look at. And I will actually bring that up right now. So the kind of neat little trick that the Lightbringer has is its shell velocity is ridiculous at 2,000 meters per second. And if you are like me and you decide to do a funny and you supercharge the shells, which gives you an extra 35% of the shell velocity, you then suddenly are using a shell that goes about 2,700 meters per second. So it's like a rail gun. You click and it's in the enemy tank immediately. That's kind of its like special ability. I think at 2,000, that is like the highest velocity in game. But I just thought, well, I'm going to do a funny because the higher the shell velocity, the more hilarious it is. So I bumped the shell velocity up to 2,700. Unfortunately, this tank uses heat as its premium ammunition, so the supercharge option doesn't really help the heat round all that much. But the pen isn't too bad at Tier 7 if you do decide to use heat. I would assume you're not going to be sniping, so shell velocity wouldn't be a huge issue. But you'd be getting 249 millimeters of pen at Tier 7, which isn't too bad. You get 184 on your standard shell. I probably wouldn't recommend playing it like this. You probably could get away with using the aim time adjustment to bring the aim time down to a more reasonable time. But for me, I just think it was hilarious that you could get a shell that's almost 3,000 meters a second in terms of velocity. So I went ahead and played a few games with the supercharger equipment enabled, and it's a pretty funny tank. I was just going to kind of go over the tank's other stats, the stuff that you do normally see. So like I said, like armor wise, it's pretty decent. 162 on the front for the turret, 100 on the hull, 84 on the side for the turret, 74 for the hull. The rear, 67 on the turret, 37 on the hull. This is another one of those tanks where you really don't want to be caught from the side or behind. View range is okay at 257. That's not great, but it's okay. It's a heavy. Even though it's a small heavy, it doesn't have that great of concealment. I thought a smaller heavy would have better concealment, but I'm not really interested in that. Using a fully maxed out crew and some of the provisions, your DPM is in the 2100 area, 7.7 second reload time, and we've gone over the penetration values. The damage values aren't too bad. If you're using heat, you're only losing 40 alpha. That's not that bad. Aim time, if you do decide to use the supercharge option, is 4.5 seconds, which is not that great. And your dispersion is 0.289, which is okay. And that is because I don't use the vert stabs anymore. I use the refined gun. The elevation and depression of the gun is not too spectacular. It's 12 up and 6 down. That's not that great. The maneuverability of the tank, it's not too bad. Its top speed is about 33 kilometers per hour. You'll average about 32. Its reverse speed isn't too great at 11. It's not the worst, but it's still not that great. It's got okay power to weight ratio at 16.6 horsepower per ton. It is a heavy little tank. It is 83 tons. I believe that's actually heavier than the Soul Eater. The turret turn rate's like 22 degrees a second. That's okay-ish. The whole turn rate is about 35 degrees a second, which again isn't amazing, but it's okay-ish. In terms of your terrain resistance, it's not too bad. 110 on harder road, medium ground 85, and then softer water is 74. It's weird. This tank isn't like slow, but it doesn't feel great to drive, and I gotta guess it's because of like the traverse rates, the stuff like that. So but yeah, this is the Lightbringer, which as of right now, you only have about 2 days left to get it. It is in the Vortex of Souls event. It is a 60 level event where you get lanterns. You can always get, passes that cost money to unlock more lanterns and boosters and stuff like that. But you'll get anything from camos, experience boosters. You'll get some little crates called, I'll show you the crates in a second because I can't click on it. The Lightbringer comes in at level 20. You get other things like, attachments for the tanks. You get some animated avatars and stuff like that, more camos, more attachments. One of the last things you get is a profile background of the Lightbringer. And then every one after that, you get a Wicked Souls container. Wicked Souls container gives you the option to possibly get the Soul Eater with I believe it's 0.5% drop chance. We can look at that right now. Yep, 0.5% drop chance. You can get some gold. You can get the Soul Eater profile background, which I have. More attachments. You also get a Halloween tank charm. That is guaranteed in every one. Basically, the Halloween tank charm, I can't show you, but basically it can give you a Halloween tank. It's a neat event. It's just like some of the other events that Wargaming has done before. Like I know there was the HoloLive event. The Dune event was very similar to this, to get the ground tank. So this isn't a foreign concept. It is pretty standard. It's a cool tank. It's not. It's just the Soul Eater, I think, is more fun to play because it has a different mechanic. Also, the Soul Eater's armor, I think, is a little bit more tough than the Lightbringer. But we will go ahead and I will load up a replay of one of the first games I played in the Lightbringer. And one of the first matches I got in my Lightbringer was a big boss match where I was the boss, so kind of lucky. It was also a top tier match. As you can see, when the match starts, you kind of get that little beam of light that affects your tank as you take off. So as the boss, I get a quicker reload speed, slightly more alpha, and hopefully I can kind of show you the shell velocity on this thing. So look at, like, you can't even see the shell fly into it. It's just like I click and there it is. And the neat thing about having this high of a shell velocity is you don't have to worry too much about if the tank's moving or not. By the time you click, the shell should already be in there. And even on HE, I mean, the HE doesn't get affected by the shell velocity boost. I think it's just a regular 2,000 meter per second shell, and it's still just cranking into the enemies here. So, oh, another thing that's really good. I love doing the blast wave when you're the boss. But, yeah, I mean, so I've managed to knock out three of our enemies so far. It's going to be interesting as we watch this replay. This Pharaoh is going to be the probably biggest competition for me in this match. But I managed to knock him out quite a few times. Same thing with this KV. Like, you got to be real smart with those blast waves. That KV was just getting ready to fire on me, and I threw him back, and he missed. And I'm sure that was really frustrating because it's like a 20-second reload on the KV2. But as you can see, this Pharaoh is very set on taking me out. I've killed him like 3 times already. Same thing, this Tiger comes back for more. I kind of do a bad play there and stick myself in the wrong spot. But these tanks, this Boogie, this is the thing, might be the first time I see the Boogie. And I take care of him. And again, this is now like, what, the 4th or 5th time now that this Pharaoh has shown up. They have devoted a lot of energy to coming at me. And I'm surprised. I guess nobody decided. I thought the KV2 would take a shot on me and finish me off. He does not. And so I'm just kind of chilling here. I do the blast wave. I unfortunately don't manage to finish him off there. But that is, I mean, what am I up to? Like 8 kills at this point? So they are focusing me. These guys are definitely trying to come after me. You know, I've managed 8 kills so far. And there's the second time I've seen the Boogie. And there he goes. So, we're doing okay. I finally get taken out by that Pharaoh. It only took him 4 or 5 deaths to finally take me out. But that does put us at a disadvantage because now we're down to 12 tanks versus their 15. Now, at this point, I had not seen the boss and was very confused as to what was going on. And it turns out the boss was a light tanks, and he really hadn't been going anywhere. I hadn't ran into him. I thought for sure he may have tried to come up and, tussle with me or something, and he hasn't. It's mainly just been the Tiger, it's been the Boogie, and the KV2 and the Pharaoh that have been putting up a fight with me. So I was starting to wonder if maybe something's going on with their boss, and I don't know any better, and maybe I should kind of investigate that. And this Tiger, he sure loves his little gravity pull. Luckily, I get him taken care of. I managed to put one into the Boogie. He's almost taken care of. And I believe that tank on the hill also has the gravity pull. So I'm starting to get we We also now are at least even. We're 9-9. But I was curious about, you know, what's up here. So I pull up and I see the AMX boss, and yeah, it turns out he's just sitting there. So I decided, well, you know, I'm going to use my high-speed railgun here and just kind of snipe him from across the map. And while that's happening, my team is starting to crumble. And I also noticed that some of my shots are not penning the AMX. So I'm like, all right, what's going on? Is the ground in the way? What am I doing wrong? And I just keep firing, and it turns out that there was an enemy heavy trying to protect his boss. And he just wasn't being spotted, which I thought was kind of funny. Now I just can't get any shots on the AMX, so I'm like, all right, well, this is kind of a do or die situation at this point. I need to make a move because our team is not able to hold their positions. We are getting kind of hammered, and I figure if any time, this is the time to rush to the boss, because if I can take him out, that will get a 5-point deduction. If when you kill the boss, they lose 5 points, or 5 tanks, whatever you want to call it. I do get focused a little bit, but I had the HP to deal with it. I use the blast wave, I knock him out, and suddenly we win the match. So that could have gone either way. I was actually really surprised. I do manage to do about 13,000 damage. I block 4,500, and I'd get a nice payout for my troubles. And if we look at the stats here, I pull just about 1,000 more damage than the Pharaoh on the other team did. So that Pharaoh definitely tried to carry their team. And it turns out, if you look at the bottom, the AMX 1375 didn't do a single thing. It looks like they actually just AFK'd the match. So that is the Lightbringer, the Tier 7 Halloween event heavy that you can technically get for free if you play enough. At the time of this recording, with there being only 2 days left, you're probably not going to be able to get it unless you pony up for the event passes. Is it a big deal if you miss out on this tank? Not really. It's a fun tank. It's definitely gimmicky in the sense of its high shell velocity. That's cool, but World of Tanks Blitz maps are so small that even with me boosting it up to almost 3,000 meters per second, I mean, it's not necessary. If you do get this tank, I wouldn't run the supercharger unless you want to do it for the funnies. Probably run the enhanced gun laying drive. The tank's aim time will go down considerably, which is probably a lot better and will give you more of an enjoyable experience when it comes to that. If you do pick this tank up for free, I mean, cool. It's another, you know, cool tank to have. Obviously, being a collector, you could always sell it if you really wanted to. And it probably makes decent credits and things like that since it's a collector / premium tank. But yeah, that is the Tier 7 Lightbringer. Anyways, thanks for watching the video, guys. And until I see you in another video, take it easy, bye-bye, and happy Halloween.